So today we're doing an experiment using a very old school theodolite to examine if the horizon is curved.
There it is! Check it out, guys! That is so exciting. Incredible.
Hello my friends, I'm Kyle Thompson. This is Research Flat Earth. And as always, welcome back.
This is 2:35 p.m. in Tennessee, December 18th, 2015. We'll pull out here now, and I want to just show you that we have the sun is shining. Of course, you can tell the sun's shining. So I'll pan over here. No edits, no cuts. It's just a straight pan to show you the sun's in the sky. No big deal. We have the moon and the sun in the sky here at the same time. So I wanted to check all the way around the backside of the globe, Australia. Yes, Australia, we have the moon at 52.8%, and it's 4:32:51 a.m. I think the sun will rise. I looked at it as I can remember. It either said 5:38 a.m. or 5:39. So what's a minute? They can see 52% of the moon in Australia at the same time, apparently, that we can see from Nashville, Tennessee. Let's see here. Yep, 52.8% also in Nashville, Tennessee. At a time of, I think it says 2:54. And I may not be getting the times right, but you know, they're very close here. And of course, it's December 18th here. So what I want to get to is a little Google map here and show you that there's the United States. I've actually got it marked on Tennessee. And we spin the Google globe around to Perth, Australia. I think it's 11,100 something miles. I'm not exactly sure. But explain to me how in the world, if the moon is in Australia, you can see it in the United States, or vice versa, the moon's in the United States, and you can see it in Australia. So I got a little experiment here with a globe and a moon we're going to do. There we go. Here comes our moon in. Here's South America, and you see the United States rotating around. So everybody's seeing the moon here in Tennessee and the United States also. And as our moon comes around the globe, we see that here comes Australia. And right now, there's no way you could see the moon in the United States, but they say you can. There's no way on a ball that you're going to tell me that you can be on one side of the ball and see on the other side of the ball. I took this outside with a globe, set it up, and even if I get up high or low, and with the globe tilted at 23 degrees, there's just no way. It doesn't matter how far you walk back to look at it, you cannot see the opposite side of the globe. It's not going to happen. Flat Earth, it's over. The moon shows the truth. It is a flat plane that we live on. And if you enjoyed this video, thank you very much. And I might make more, I might not. But thank you a lot for watching.
Today we examine a massive globe religion contradiction. The tiny centrifugal force of spinning. The tiny centrifugal force of spinning makes you less than 10 ounces lighter at the equator. The tiny centrifugal force of spinning stretches the equatorial diameter of the globe by 26 miles. Creating a bulge 13 miles tall of loose sand and water, hundreds of miles wide all along the equator.
Hi y'all doing? I'm Dan's cousin from Tennessee. That's right, that's right. And let me tell you something. If you're gonna hang out with Dan, you got to get yourself together. Now, you gotta have your Dan official Walmart tank top. That's right, you gotta have it, Cousin Dan, he told me where to get them, and he get them at Walmart, and I love them, That's right. Another thing, if you're gonna hang with Dan, you gotta have the Dan All-American haircut. That's right, you got to have the All-American haircut. That's all there is to it, yeah. A bit nipper out here today though, Dan. So anyway, we get here in that space station there, it won't be so cold, I don't guess, I don't know. But anyway, all I want to tell y'all was Dan is a good fella. I really love watching his videos, and all y'all people that shilling on Dan and saying all them mean things to him and all that, that stuff's gonna stop. Cause if I have to come find you myself, cause you know, I don't mind rolling. Dan, he's a nice fella, you know, but I tell you this, if you go up around Dan's house messing around, it ain't gonna be pretty for you. That's all it is to it, it ain't gonna be pretty. But I'm gonna tell you this right now, you're messing with Dan, Dan got a lot of friends, he got thousands of friends. We will come and put a foot up your ass, especially Cousin Bob down in Tennessee, cause I love to roll. I roll in a minute. Now, Dan, he done put out videos. You know, he got to talk about the stars not moving on a spinning globe, how the stars are always up there. And I like that. I like the one where he'll tell you real quick that ain't no trillions of tons of ocean water can stay on no damn round ball, and not all that weight and force kill you. It would just crush you if you lived on a round ball and it was strong enough to hold all that water on. Now, y'all need to have more common sense than that. Now, I'm gonna tell you this. Dan, he puts out good videos. He's a nice fella. And y'all just need to get off his back and just let him go, because we got to have a Dan video every day, because we don't get a Dan video, it ain't a good day, and y'all know it ain't a good day. Now I'm gonna grab this here thing. A lot of people, this is their God. See if we can hypnotize them with it. This is their God. They just love their round ball. You know, you want your round ball? Let me give it to you. You ain't getting no round ball here, boy. Boo. You want a round ball? It's March Madness. Go play you some basketball. You want a round ball? But if you want a round ball, come and take this ball. Can you take his ball? I bet you can't take his ball from me. I guarantee you can't take his ball from me. But y'all can keep on living on your devil ball and worshiping this thing. Look at this. That's pitiful. That's some pitiful crap right there. But you do what you want to. Take your ball, go home. I don't care. But I'd hate to think I lived on a piece of junky crap like this. That's right. Everybody done know the world is flat. Everybody done said it's flat. Dan done told us it's flat, and that's all it is to it, is flat. Now, take your ball and go home. Take your ball. Take your ball. Because I won't get back to some basketball because it's March Madness time. That's right, it's March Madness time. So let me put this up. So in closing, I just want to say that we love Dan's videos, and the best imitation, I ain't very good at imitating, but the best flattery there is imitating somebody. And I just want to tell you, Dan, hey man, keep it up. I love it. It makes my day to see your videos, and we got to have it. Let's see. Y'all look back in here. Oh, what's that, Scott Kelly, the astronaut? He was in here. I done kicked his ass. Look, ain't nobody in the ISS. Or what is it called, the ISIS space station, or the International Space Station, whatever it is. But look, I'm telling you, it's empty. Ain't nobody in there, because I done kicked their ass. I throwed them out. All they did was fall out the parking lot, because y'all know they ain't in space. Anyway, y'all have a good one. It was nice. Dan, you keep it up, brother. Ha!
Some of the evidence we actually have for a spherical Earth that is inconsistent with a flat Earth, and how and why all of the so-called proofs
for a flat Earth really amount to nothing at all. Some are outright lies, many just refute straw men or affirm the consequent, but the majority are just arguments from incredulity and arguments from ignorance. This is the start of a series of videos for a claim-by-claim refutation of Eric Dubay's video 200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball video book, linked in the description. The contents of that video are also available for download as a PDF, but I won't link to it since the video is a verbatim reading of the book. I may, however, on one or two occasions use a picture from the PDF that is not in the video to make a point. So let's get started.
200 Proofs Earth is Not a Spinning Ball by Eric Dubay.
Actually, it is neither 200 different points, they are mostly repetitions, nor is any of them a proof. They are not even evidence. I will play a portion of the original video so no one can say I am misrepresenting what he said, followed by my extensive comments. Sometimes a bit of math is unavoidable to show how the arguments for a spherical Earth follow from repeatable observations and equations anyone can derive and validate. I will occasionally refer to material by others who are more qualified or have made a more eloquent argument than I could hope to present.
1. The horizon always appears perfectly flat 360 degrees around the observer regardless of altitude.
This is simply false. It seems to originate from the casual observation that from ground level the horizon appears perfectly flat and no curvature can be seen with the unaided eye, even from most mountains and with high-resolution digital cameras. Without a level, it will also be almost impossible to detect the amount by which one would need to look down from eye level. Let's take a look at what kind of horizon we would expect to see from a ground-based observer. Martimer81 has done the math, so a big shout out to him. He's somewhat more proficient in this stuff than I am, but it's really just basic trigonometry and not that hard to follow. It would have taken me just a bit longer to arrive at the same results. I'll link to the video below. He calculates that on an Earth with a radius of roughly 6,400 kilometers, we can expect the horizon to be 0.045 degrees below eye level when the observer is 2 meters above an unobstructed surface, that is, one without buildings or any terrain features. The horizon line will curve downwards towards the edges of a camera frame with a horizontal field of view of 118 degrees to 0.088 degrees. On a typical action camera at a 1080p resolution, that would be less than 1 pixel and thus barely noticeable. The reason some experiments found the Earth to be optically completely flat is due to refraction in the atmosphere. When traveling from an optically less dense medium to a denser medium, light is deflected towards the denser medium. This is caused by a lower speed of light in the denser medium and follows directly when describing light as composed from individual spherical waves according to the Huygens-Fresnel principle. Since air is compressible and pushed down by the air above it, it is denser near the ground, so light is bent downwards to make the Earth appear somewhat flatter than it actually is. This may be compounded by an inversion layer with colder and thus even denser air close to the ground. In this case, the Earth may actually appear almost or completely flat. We'll come back to that later.
All amateur balloon, rocket, plane, and drone footage show a completely flat horizon over 20 plus miles high.
Let's look at what we would expect to see from higher altitudes. Would we really see something that looked like a ball from more than 30 kilometers up? If we rise high above the surface, such as high-flying airplanes and weather observation balloons regularly do, we'd expect to see the horizon line drop below eye level, and also to observe a visible curvature. The effect is small from normal airliners cruising at 13,000 meters, where, according to the calculations before, and also assuming the same 118-degree field of view action camera, we would expect a drop of the horizon of 3.7 degrees in the center, and a further drop of around 3.5 degrees towards the edges, a minimally observable curvature. Near the maximum cruising altitude of Concorde, at about 20,000 meters, these numbers increase to a downward angle of around 4.5 degrees in the center, and another 4.2 degrees lower at the left and right edges. At typical altitudes of stratospheric weather observation balloons of 30,500 meters, or about 100,000 feet, the horizon will be down by a barely noticeable 5.6 degrees, arcing down towards the edges to 10.8 degrees, a drop of around 5.2 degrees. So, can we see this curvature in aerial footage? Flatliners always claim one of two things. Either that the footage is computer generated by any agency in on the conspiracy, or that any visible curvature was caused by lens distortion. The former is just an assertion, so let's not worry about it. The latter is a real issue, but it's not insurmountable. All lenses, except some very special anamorphic cinema lenses, have the property that every straight line which passes through the frame center is perfectly straight. On the lenses which are typical on modern action cameras, all lines are curved towards the nearest edges. This is known as barrel distortion. Fisheye lenses have a very strong barrel distortion, but even those will project straight lines going through the center as straight lines. So in order to give the camera the benefit of the doubt, we will look at some footage where the middle of the horizon line is as close to the center of the frame as possible, or even slightly below, so that any possible visible curvature would be reduced rather than exaggerated by the lens. If we could still find an upward bulging curvature, then we would clearly be looking at the curvature of the natural horizon, which is a strong indication of the spherical nature of the Earth. I found unedited footage of several balloon launches, plus one amateur rocket launch, so unless we can see clear evidence of a transition from the real launch footage to the alleged CGI, we will assume it is real, untempered footage from high altitude. Let's first use DogCam flies to the edge of space, 110,000 feet on a balloon, mainly because it is footage used by Eric Dubay himself in his 200 Proofs book. The problem with this is that it is edited and thus does not fulfill the second criterion of showing raw continuous footage from start to the highest point, so we will repeat the exercise with a second video later. But first, DogCam. By the way, the PDF version shows a dishonest picture of the DogCam. It is squashed vertically, thereby compressing any possibly visible curvature below detectable levels, and secondly, it is labeled over 20 miles high, whereas the screenshot is from a time in the video where the video's own caption says 23,800 meters, which is less than 15 miles. In this screen capture, which is contrast enhanced to give a clearer definition to the edge of the Earth, we can see that the horizon does actually drop away towards the edges. Although this camera does not seem to have bad distortion, I still selected a frame where the horizon line is below the center of the frame, indicated by the green line, so that any possible barrel distortion would reduce the visible curvature, so the measurement is conservative. Here's a screen capture of another high-altitude research balloon video, which contains the complete uncut ascent. If you have too much time on your hands, you can watch the entire video and satisfy yourself that it is not edited and there is no other trickery involved. Again, I have selected a frame where the horizon is very close to the center of the frame, because in this case the lens has a clearly visible barrel distortion. But this video offers another great opportunity. It contains the moon near the center of the frame, so it is only slightly distorted. We know the moon has an apparent diameter of around half a degree, and it is about 8 pixels in diameter in this frame. The frame is 1920 pixels wide, which corresponds to a field of view of around 120 degrees. The drop of the visible ends of the horizon curve is just under 50 pixels, so around 3 degrees. Even at 30,500 meters, as was claimed in the video description, this seems a bit less than expected, but nonetheless it is clearly visible. If you don't have the time to watch several hours of a balloon ascent, there's the high-performance alternative of amateur rockets. The best of the lot is called the Go Fast launch, and reached just over 117 kilometers of altitude. Above 100 kilometers is often, though rather arbitrarily, referred to as space. Airplanes don't fly there anymore. Technically, it is called the thermosphere. There is still some gas there, enough to make satellites at these altitudes fall from the sky after a few weeks. So here are two screenshots from the onboard camera of the 2014 Go Fast launch. Again, I selected frames where the horizon line is near the center of the frame. I rotated them around the center so they appear similar to the other ones. I don't know how far from apogee the picture actually was, so I'll assume it was somewhere around 100 kilometers high. Here we would expect the horizon to have dropped to around 10 degrees. To figure out the expected drop at the edges, we need the camera angle of view, and again we are lucky to have the moon in shot. It measures around 22 pixels in diameter. Since this is around half a degree, the total frame of 1920 pixels would be roughly 44 degrees. For these values, we would expect the edges of the horizon curve to be around 0.8 degrees lower than the middle. This doesn't seem to be a lot, but with the moon being 22 pixels wide for half a degree, 44 pixels equals 1 degree, so we would expect the edges to be around 35 pixels lower than the center. And if we measure the photo, this is roughly what we find. It is not precise enough to arrive at an exact value or even a good estimate of the Earth's actual radius, but it is a good indication that we can't be too far off.
Only NASA and other government space agencies show curvature in their fake CGI photos and videos.
So, sorry, all the footage I used to actually show a curvature was not from NASA or any other space agency, Russian, European, Chinese, or otherwise. But for all who have been waiting patiently, here's some well-deserved beautiful footage shot from the International Space Station. But the amateur footage observations fit nicely with a spherical Earth model. We don't need NASA to tell us anything, when we can just look ourselves. Launching a weather balloon is cheap, and so are cameras. Almost anyone can do it. And removing the lens distortion is also not too hard. Of course, this is not proof, but it constitutes evidence. It is the result of an observation which could have disproved the theory, but did not. Clearly defined ways to disprove a model are a hallmark of a scientific theory. Going to high altitude and measuring the curvature of the horizon line had the possibility of showing a totally flat horizon, which would have been incompatible with a spherical Earth. But it did show a curvature consistent with that model and consistent with the assumed radius of the Earth. As to a flat Earth, there isn't even a theory which explains what the horizon should look like from higher altitudes, such as how far away should we be able to see, at what angle should the horizon be, what curvature, if any, would we be able to see, etc. In other words, the flat Earth horizon model is not falsifiable and therefore not a useful scientific theory. Proponents of a flat Earth will say, "We see no curvature, therefore the Earth is flat." But ask them what exactly they'd expect to see instead, and they will always sidetrack the conversation without giving a clear answer. The reason is simple. If they could come up with a verifiable and falsifiable answer, they could easily be proven wrong, so they'll avoid that at all costs.
2. The horizon always rises to the eye level of the observer as altitude is gained, so you never have to look down to see it. If Earth were in fact a globe, no matter how large, as you ascended, the horizon would stay fixed and the observer would have to tilt looking down further and further to see it.
Yes, we would have to look down further with increasing altitude, but the angle is negligible from eye height at sea level, and even from Mount Everest it cannot be more than 3 degrees. As with the curvature, flat earthers do not really say where the horizon should be, and if it stayed at eye level.
So today we're doing an experiment using a very old school theodolite to examine if the horizon is curved in order to demonstrate that the Earth is in fact a ball. So we're just setting up at the moment, making sure that everything's level, and then we're going to move on to the actual video footage through the theodolite, which should demonstrate that the height at the center is higher than either side, to demonstrate the curve of the horizon, which isn't very easy to see with the naked eye, but using this precision measurement device it should be fairly easy to demonstrate that the horizon is in fact curved. Right, so we've got the equipment set up, and now we're going to pan.
I'm pointing at the horizon now, and I'm moving it across, and the horizon is dropping, or actually going up. And I'm moving it across, and there's boats flying by, and we'll come back down, and the horizon's again, it's on the horizon. So there we are. Now I'm going to reverse the thing and get back, if I can, to that. Right. Put that down.
Yep, so now we're going to flip the theodolite completely over 180 degrees just to demonstrate that the curve that we're seeing on the horizon isn't a function of the lens or anything like that. If we flip it over 180 degrees and it still shows the same bulge in the horizon, then that should demonstrate categorically that the horizon is in fact curved and is not a straight line, as the flat earth advocates seem to think it should be.
Okay, so there we are. I'm on the thing, and I'm bringing it now over. This time it's upside down to what it was before, because I've reversed the camera, and there we are, back on the horizon.
So I'm just filming the equipment we used for this experiment to show all the viewers that it is in fact a very old school mechanical theodolite with screws and old school bubble levels and all the rest of it. There's no trickery involved. It very much is a mechanical piece of equipment.
Something I received today from Bleep. They brought to my attention a cutscene from a video game, which was interesting because yesterday, I actually, through my scrolling on YouTube, I had stumbled upon this Horizon Zero Dawn game that just came out on the PS4. So Bleep actually went through all the cutscenes, and I have to say, I mean, this 5-hour video, it's about 2.5 hours in. It gets quite interesting and becomes quite related to the flat earth, so I want to play that for you guys, and all credit goes to Bleep for finding this, and it really points out the indoctrination. I want to start the one cutscene leading up to it. I believe that there's a lot being said here, so just listen to it. You'll see a lot of references to the paradigm that we're in right now, in my opinion, for those that are listening. But take a listen here.
Silence. That's my name. Now, why don't you try asking another question? Something less trivial.
If you're so smart, why do you know so little after a lifetime scratching around in the dirt? It's not my fault you're bad at what you do. I came to these ruins looking for Elizabeth Sobek, not because of the things she did centuries ago, but because people are trying to kill me right now, today. I've got bigger problems to deal with than your crap.
Congratulations. You just graduated from whining to throwing a temper tantrum. I'm sure Elizabeth would be proud. You need to get a grip on yourself and start thinking straight. Only then will you see just how big your problems really are.
What exactly are you talking about?
You've chased a personal riddle into a crowd of larger mysteries. The common thread is your connection to Elizabeth Sobek.
But what is that connection? She couldn't have been my mother if she lived centuries ago.
We don't know the connection yet. The only way to find out is to keep going, to keep making discoveries. Thanks to you, we've only just now learned that Pharaoh robots once threatened to end life on Earth.
But it didn't happen. The Old One's civilization was destroyed, but life was saved.
Obviously. So, what did Elizabeth do? How did she stop the robots before all was lost?
What was Project Zero Dawn?
Exactly the question. Now, are you ready to go get the answer?
Of course I am.
Then why are you still standing here?
You're insufferable, you know that? Let's get on with this. Elizabeth told Ted Faro she was headed for a place called U.S. Robot Command to tell people about Zero Dawn.
The place still exists as a ruin. The Oseram call it the Grave Horde.
Grave Horde? Cheery name.
You'll find it in the Eastern Mountains, buried under the tangled coils of a metal devil, or a BOR-7 Horus, rather, as we're learning to call them. I'll contact you when you get there.
I can't wait. Someday we'll meet in person, and your manners will be improved. What is this?
That? It's a map.
A map of what?
Our world. Planet Earth, Aloy. It's not flat like you thought.
Why would I think that? During eclipses, the shadow cast on the moon is curved. So our world is a globe. And it looks like this, from a distance.
We'll discuss this another time. Back to the matter at hand.
The Faro robots were spreading across.
So, and you can see there, you know, they are addressing the flat Earth in a way and giving that question out for kids, for children, or even adults who play these games, because I'm guilty of that. They're pushing the globe with this question as well, or answer. You know, that should be, just make it obvious, because we see a curved shadow during the eclipse, which we already have footage of that shadow coming from above the moon coming down across it, which would be impossible. So I'd like them to explain that. But nonetheless, this is a great low piece to find how they're pushing indoctrination in video games. And again, I want to give a good shout out to Bleep for sending me this link. It does help, you know, and this is what uniting is all about. We work together to push the truth, you know. As I, you know, like Fake News 9, he sent me a link to a website for the 9/11 truth, and great stuff. So, you know, and this stuff I like to see, and I try to push forward when it does come out. So I just want to bring that to your attention, and thank you, Bleep, for sending me that, and great work. Let's keep it up. Let's keep finding every stitch of evidence we can find that proves a flat Earth or the indoctrination, because it's a twofold kind of argument here, and we can look at it from two perspectives. Don't have to sit there, and I hate that about some of these arguments, is that you're pigeonholed, you know, when really we're the ones questioning the globe. The globe right now has to come up with answers. There's no, in my opinion, I will not agree to this debating about the flat Earth, because the flat Earth we can't come up with our models or anything like that until we first get rid of the lie. Can't pass that lie, we can't go and start on the models. So we have to divert our efforts to attacking the globe, like I said, and I will be bringing this up in some further videos. We got to start attacking these scientific papers as well. like the David Lynch one I brought up. But anyway, I'll let you guys go. I'm going to have another couple videos coming out and a stream shortly, so look for that. It will be on my other channel, but I'll put a day notice video on this channel to let you know that I got a stream coming. But anyway, you guys have a great day.
Hello everyone. It seems that a lot of people have difficulty understanding why the horizon is curved on our Earth as soon as you rise above the surface, and technically, although usually undetectable, even from eye height standing at sea level. At first it seems obvious. The Earth is a sphere, close enough anyway, so of course the edge should be curved. But then you start thinking, and figure out that, equally obviously, the horizon would be at the same angle all around. So how could it be curved? It should be dead straight. We might call this an optical fallacy. It comes down to projection and perception. First, let's do a little thought experiment. How does it follow that something that is at the same angle all around you would appear straight? Let's look at things that actually are straight. Imagine a piece of straight and perfectly level road, not caring about the surface curvature at the moment, because we will be limiting ourselves to very short distances. Now, say, the stretch of road is 20 meters long, and you are standing in the middle of it at one edge and look towards the opposite edge, as if to cross the street. For the sake of the argument, let's assume your eyes are 2 meters above the ground, and the road is also 2 meters wide. Yes, that is a very tall person and a narrow road, but it makes for nicer numbers. So, looking at the opposite edge, straight ahead, you have to look down by 45 degrees. Now look to the left to see the end of the road, some 10 meters away. According to basic trigonometry, you will have to look down only by about 11 degrees to see that point, which is not really that far away. Now, all points to one side will appear under a different angle, so shouldn't the road appear curved? We all know that it does not. Your senses will tell you quite correctly that it is perfectly straight. Although the human eye has a heavily distorted projection, your whole experience for all your life has trained your visual system to know which projections to your retina, combined with other sensory perceptions, correspond to straight lines, and which correspond to curved lines. These perceptions can be fooled in optical illusions, but for normal situations they work extremely well and are very reliable. For small to moderately large angles of view, our perception agrees very well with what is called a rectilinear projection, in which straight lines are projected onto film or digital sensor as straight lines. It is clear that on a photograph of the street of our thought experiment, we would see the street as a straight line. We could make a large transparency from it, and we would be able to hold it in front of our eyes such that it would align perfectly with reality. A pinhole camera creates a perfect rectilinear projection like that. Things become more complex when we use very large angles of view or curved projection surfaces, but that is beyond the scope of this video. Now imagine fixing the endpoints of our hypothetical street, removing the straight opposite edge, and replacing it with a circle around our feet with a radius of the distance to those endpoints, just over 10 meters away. When we then look at the point of the circle directly ahead of us, it will be the same distance away, and we will have to look down by the same angle as we did for the endpoints to our left and right sides. And yet, it will not appear straight, but we will clearly be able to see and recognize it as an arc. Basic geometry tells us that things work exactly the same if we simply scale up the entire thing, so that we are no longer 2 meters high, but, say, 250,000 meters, and the circle has a radius of 1,800 kilometers instead of 10 meters. These figures correspond to a low Earth orbit, somewhat below the ISS. Using the typical rectilinear projection, straight lines to straight lines, which agrees with human perception. There is no reason why the circle of the horizon should not appear curved to both the human eye and a camera. These pictures visualize a pinhole camera projection surface. Its size is wildly exaggerated, but it is easy to see that it would work exactly the same when sensor width and focal length are scaled down proportionately. While it is true that all rays reaching the pinhole from the horizon are at the same angle, those striking the projection surface nearer the edges have to travel on for a longer distance and thus rise further before they hit it, in total creating a curved line. I hope this clears up why we would expect to see a curved horizon from higher altitudes, even if the horizon itself is a flat circle. I have published an interactive horizon curvature simulator on GeoGebra for all to play around with. I will link it in the description below. In a future video, I will be talking about the horizon on a flat Earth. It is going to take a bit longer, since there is no generally agreed on model of the flat Earth in the first place, so I will have to consider the implications of different sizes, observer positions, and finite versus infinite models. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to this channel if you like, and spread the word. This video is licensed under a Creative Commons license, Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike 4.0 International. See you next time.
Looking at the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, which is the longest bridge in the world, and it's in Louisiana. 24-mile long bridge. So I wanted to see how they worked out the curvature building this bridge, because in 24 miles they should have to deal with 384 feet of curvature. And I even looked at a documentary from Modern Marvels that 45 minutes long, but they finally got to the point, and it was this. They threw this up as they were going to a commercial, and it was 35 minutes in, so I barely caught it. But this is what they're to compensate for the curvature of the Earth. The Lake Pontchartrain Causeway was built roughly 2 inches longer than the distance it spans. 2 inches for 384 feet. Then I just started checking out some other bridges. This is the top 10 bridges, or top 10 longest bridges. You can see it's not far behind Lake Pontchartrain, the next one. And there's, they're all above 100 so far, and now I'm just dipping under. And then, look at this one. This one, Lisbon's Vasco da Gama Bridge, is 56,381 feet, 10.7 miles. So that is 76 feet of curvature that you should see. 76 feet of drop. So that's about a fifth of what the Lake Pontchartrain drop is, 384. So if Lake Pontchartrain just had to use 2 inches of extra road, these guys probably didn't have to use hardly any to cover that whole 76 feet of drop. And I thought I'd show you guys how I'm figuring out how much curvature we should be seeing. So in the first mile you get 8 inches of drop. So for the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, we'll take 24 squared times that 8 inches, and then you can divide it by 12 to get your feet, and that's 384 feet of curvature that they should have to deal with, but they only had to add 2 inches of road for that. So okay, that's been explained. Now back to work. Thanks for tuning in.
If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. If you haven't subscribed, hit the red subscribe button. Also click on the little bell icon to get notifications of my Flat Earth videos, which I upload every day.